There are two ways to go fast on a mountain bike: with confidence and grip, or with wide-eyed terror in somewhat of a mandatory fashion. Now, while the best cross-country riders in the world have made something of an art of the latter, I think most of us, when we go out to cruise our local trails, prefer the former. Now, in order to obtain confidence, we need a combination of tracking, so how the tire changes shape to suit the ground underneath it, grip, so how the tire knobs twist and deform around the terrain, and penetration, how the tread of the tire bites into the dirt. Each of these plays a massive role in keeping the rider safe and stable, while also letting them feel the terrain underneath them, gaining an idea of when and how to brake, how much they can lean the bike, and the overall traction available to inform a whole host of choices. But this all begs an interesting question. When it comes to our tires, what is an aggressive tire? Because it feels like that term can cover any number of options. Well, firstly, an aggressive tire to a lot of people will mean something that's suited to ride gravity trails. But it can also seem like aggressive describes either end of the spectrum, with the fastest, shallowest, downright scariest cross-country tires on one end and heavyweight, ultra-soft downhill tires on the other. Now, cross-country bikes are great, but today we're going to talk about maximizing grip and speed for descending. An aggressive gravity tire will have the foundation of a well-damped sidewall. What does this all mean? Well, damping is something you may have heard more about in regards to suspension, and it relates to a unit providing resistance to a returning force or compression. Think a root out on trail or the landing of a jump. A more damped fork will offer more support and a slower rebound, and the same goes with tires. Much like our forks, a greater amount of damping can mean a softer spring or lower air pressure. This in turn can help us tune our tires for our own weight, safe in the security that we're getting better tracking, but not at the expense of using the full stroke of the tire too often, which could lead to mechanicals or damage. Again though, much like our forks, the best level of damping is related to rider weight.
I think I got a vendetta. Oh, now they call me, I seen them. All of those times getting severed. I told them all I can let up. They get not tired of me never. Give me a shot and I swear I shoot like Berettas. Yeah. They getting nervous, I seen it. Look.
We're making this video with support from Kenda, but a lot of what we'll discuss will be true of many tire brands. Kenda uses different casings, which are denoted on the sidewall, to refer to sidewall and subtread protection, as well as the compound, which signals further what the tire is designed for. For us though, heavier, thicker tires are more ideal on more aggressive downhill trails. They can provide more stability at higher speeds, more consistency in turns because they deform less, and more reliability when bouncing through the roughest sections. For us though, heavier, thicker tires are more ideal on more aggressive downhill trails. They can provide more stability at higher speeds, more consistency in turns because they deform less, and more reliability when bouncing through the roughest sections. So why make thinner casing tires then? Well, thicker casing tires are simply slower to pedal as they're heavier. Some riders are known to experiment with a thinner tire on the front and a thicker one on the rear, as more of our weight sits on the rear axle. It's also the rear wheel that has to take the consequences of our mistakes, such as less than inspiring line choices and, oh yeah, massive cases. So when it comes to gravity and the riding that a lot of us love, a heavier tire could be considered more aggressive. So that's all done, right? Not exactly. Now that we understand casing, let's talk about tread. Now this is an all-round gravity tire made to maximize grip. I mean, it's got more lugs and slugs on it than lettuce in springtime. But it's not the case of making this single most slug-covered tire with the most amount of edges possible. It is a lot more complicated than that. As we add more lugs or knobs, it means that they cover more of the tire's canvas. If we took this to the extreme, we wouldn't actually have something that's very different to a cross-country tire at all. The tread can only penetrate the ground because the lugs can dig into the soft dirt and are enclosed as they do so. For them to really dig themselves into the dirt, the lugs need space around them for the dirt to go. But we don't want too much space either, and that's for two reasons: consistency and reliability. Consistency is achieved by each knob setting up the role for the following one to play. These knobs are all designed to work with each other in mind. For instance, when leaning, we have the transfer knob taking you from the center to the edge. For braking, we have this paddle, which is then followed by a clear area to shed mud. We also can see the side knobs are offset to work with the center knobs that they're next to. This is about providing a clean and consistent edge for the rider to be able to trust. The pattern is open enough so that it can shed dirt, but not so open that the canvas acts like an ice rink on wet roots and rocks, as the lugs cannot penetrate the ground. The next part is reliability. If you imagine a square edge, it's simply harder to find a clear line of impact that can get across the tire canvas and send a compression spike straight to the rim. These knobs are carefully placed to keep any severe impacts at bay by making sure there are always at least one or two rubber knobs to lessen those severe impacts. An all-rounder like this might also have slightly shorter knobs. This means they will twist and distort less on hard ground or when the rider's really driving the bike into turns. So there we have it. That is an aggressive tire. But wait, there's more? Yes, there is. This here is a mud tire or cut spike, and this is an aggressive tire. Okay, so this tire with its tall tread and football cleat design really is aggressive. So why the hell would anyone call it a cut spike? Like, are you really expected to cut your brand new tire down? No, not exactly. A full spike tire has very, very, very long lugs, and that's great for penetrating sodden dirt or sand or even grassy turns. However, the longer the lug, the more it deforms. So should you ride that tire on a hard pack surface, for instance, it's gonna feel like a vague, squirmy mess. Cut spike refers to the design of most modern mud tires and that they're designed to be very good in soft dirt, but not so long that they twist and undermine confidence. In some ways, they're not overly dissimilar to the tires that riders used to make themselves by cutting down full spikes, hence the name. These tires are full of clever tech, like these small raises on the canvas to increase the surface area ever so slightly and hopefully stop claggy mud from packing up the tread entirely. And if you really want to cut them down for a race perhaps in loose or dry or changing conditions, there are the cut marks here. The knobs are a very particular height, size, and shape to give the most security in wet dirt, but without bringing in that vagueness by being so tall that they deform. The side knobs feature this indentation here to provide more stiffness to stop the tires flexing in so much under high load. The siping and shaping of knobs is really important, and although it doesn't sound like much, go put a crease in a piece of paper and see how that affects how flexible that sheet is in different directions. In fact, you can see that the siping cutouts on the center and side knobs are inverse of one another. Why is that? Well, siping is a great way to affect how a tire deforms, but only in one direction. So the edge knobs, with siping parallel to the direction of travel, will have more give on the fore-aft plane and add a degree of conformity through tech. But the center knobs have it laterally to allow some twisting as they try and hunt for grip. If this was opposite, we'd have a side knob that twists and turns, and then a center knob that collapses under braking. And that's the opposite of what we want. So that's an aggressive tire. But what the heck is this? And can it really be so different? Well, this is a fast rolling and predictable bike park tire, and in some ways is a hybrid of other designs. But let me tell you, this is an aggressive tire. It has the square lugs of the mud tire, but the alternating tread pattern and longer edges of the all-rounder. This is a tire built to be very consistent on not only harder terrain like roots or rocks, but also aims to offer a huge amount of consistency when handling high cornering load by using lugs that are slightly shorter. This is hugely important, as oftentimes on man-made trails, these are the prevailing conditions. The tire moves away from the braking paddle in one sense and instead adopts it completely. Every row is going to be very effective at braking because simply the length of the braking edge is both long and abundant. Wherever you are on the tread, you're never far away from that huge paddle coming around and driving into the ground. It also gives a very consistent footprint as you change between center and side knobs. While offsetting center and edge knobs is better for clearing and can offer another degree of protection, it is simply less consistent of a footprint. For the ultimate predictable feel, there is benefit from having a non-alternating tread pattern. This also means you can have something that has numerous lugs, can clear immediate mud, and yet thrive on man-made tracks. Like the all-rounder, the center and side knobs are offset slightly to maintain feel and footprint while also giving the mud somewhere to escape to. So that's an aggressive tire, but what is this? This is a loose terrain tire, and in some ways it's not so different to the all-rounder. However, there are some slight but very important variations. Firstly, the knobs are taller, and if we take what we learned about the mud tire and apply it here, we know it will be better at penetrating loose dirt as well as clearing. Those taller knobs do affect rolling speed though, and it's all a trade-off for grip. There are also some key differences in terms of tread between this and the all-rounder. There is more space between this double lug central column and the side knobs. This will be less consistent on hardpack, but better at clearing. Again, another small touch is the L-shaped alternating edge pattern. This will give a greater length of edge to hook into the soft dirt, but subsequently it could deform more. And finally, there is more canvas on display and the tread is more open. This might not seem like much, but when you consider how quickly our tires are rotating and how much of that canvas is coming into contact with the ground, it adds up quite quickly. Now, of course, we can take what we know about how our bikes work and apply that to tire choice. For instance, we could go something like this on the front where grip and consistency are key, and then something like the Bike Park, loose over hard tire on the rear, for something that will offer a lot of consistency when we're pushing in turns, yet also clears well. And that's an aggressive tire. Yes, that's it. Those are the main styles of gravity tire. And different styles are normally available with different compounds and tread to maximize the package for the riding you do. So, is there such a thing as one aggressive tire to rule them all? Well, I think we highlighted today that it really depends on where you live and what style of riding you like to do. And in 2024, I kind of feel like the term aggressive is a bit overused, but we're just lucky that we live in a time where no matter what we want to ride, there's a tire to suit. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you learned something about tire tread patterns, where they can be useful, and if you did enjoy it, then please subscribe to the channel.